Parts of an algebraic expression. In this short tutorial, I'm going to go over the parts of algebraic expressions so you can identify them and use them in the skills to follow. First, there's the variables. You should be already quite adept with the variables by now. Variables are the letters that you find in an algebraic expression. So, for example, x plus 5, x is the letter, therefore x is the variable. Y squared minus z, y and z are both letters in this expression, and therefore they are both considered variables. Coefficients are the numbers and signs that are in front of a variable, or otherwise, as I say, attached to a variable. For a, the coefficient of a would be the number and sign of the thing in front. So in this case, the coefficient of a is just simply 4. 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. The coefficient of x. Hone in on where x is. Find the number and sign in front of it. And then you can just simply answer the coefficient of x is negative 3. In case some of you are wondering, why isn't the answer 2? Since 2 is in front of an x. 2 is in front of an x squared in this case. So 2 would therefore be the coefficient of x squared. It shows you how specific coefficients are. A squared plus y. The coefficient of a squared. At first, you may think there's nothing in front of it. So is the coefficient nothing? Well, no. If you remember from one of our previous lessons, you would know that there are invisible ones. If a 1 is in front of a variable, it doesn't have to be shown. So therefore, if you see nothing there, the coefficient is 1. 3 minus b, the coefficient of b. At first, you may think there's nothing there. So the coefficient must be 1. Well, you are half right. There's a minus sign over there. That means that the coefficient isn't just 1. It's minus 1. And then x over 4, the coefficient of x. X over 4, you may think 1 is the coefficient, but no. X over 4 can be rewritten as a quarter times x, or quarter x, and therefore the coefficient is a quarter. So coefficients can be fractions as well. The constant is the term whose value does not change. So in other words, the actual number. In 2x squared plus 3x plus 5, 5 is the actual number, and therefore 5 is the constant. 3 minus b, 3 is the actual number, and therefore is the constant term. A squared plus y, there is no number there. Therefore, 0 is the constant. Negative x squared minus 1, 1 is a number, but constants look at the sign as well. So it's not just 1, it's minus 1. There are 2 skills associated with the parts of an algebraic expression. That's arranging them in ascending and descending order of powers, as well as the degree. When it comes to arranging into ascending and descending order, ascending, you go from smallest to biggest, and from descending, from biggest to smallest. And what you essentially do is that you look at the actual exponents of the variable that they're talking about. So, for example, in that example, I had 2x squared plus 5x to the 4 minus x to the 3 minus 6 plus x, and you had to arrange in descending powers of x. So you go from biggest to smallest. The biggest power of x over there is the 5x to the 4. And you're not just moving that, you are moving its coefficient with it. So that's why you start with the 5x to the 4. Then you move the negative, then it's the x to the 3. The negative sign belongs with that, and that's why it moves as well. Then x to the 2 all moves over there with a plus sign because it's positive. Then a plus x moves next, followed by the negative 6. As you can see, I like to cross out my ones when I'm done, so I know that I don't have to revisit them. Y to the 4 minus xy squared plus 3y to the 3 minus 10. Arrange in ascending powers of y. So here I'm looking only at the powers of y. Ascending goes from biggest to smallest. So that's why the negative 10 moves first, because there is no y. So there is no power of y. So by default, it's the smallest. You see the y squared over there, but that negative x belongs with it. So it moves as well. That's why it all moves over here. Then comes the plus 3y to the 3, followed by the plus y to the 4. From smallest to biggest, ascending. And then finally, the degree of an expression. The degree is simply the highest power of it or exponent of an expression. So if you see x to the 3 plus 3x to the 2 plus 3x plus 1. The degree, in this case, when you look at it, 3 is the biggest exponent. Therefore, the degree is 3 in terms of x, or it's to the third degree of x. But something you have to remember is that an expression's degree changes based on the variable used. If I have this one over here, y to the 4 minus xy to the 2 plus 3x to the 3 minus 10. This expression is to the fourth degree in terms of y, because the biggest exponent for y is 4. But in terms of x, it's 3. So that's why at the same time, it's to the third degree of x.